What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to the Win Daily DFS Lockdown Show, NFL Slate Week 5. I'm Dave Gleckner, joined by the Ghost, Nick. What's up, buddy?
Not much, bro. Doing well. Glad to finally get a showing together. I know we've crossed paths in NBA and NFL, MLB, all kinds of sports. So it's nice to finally get this one out of the way and do our first show together. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, let's do it. And you know what? I'm feeling good today. I think the slate's kind of, we talked about it pre-show. There's some really good games, game stacks out there available to people, lineup stacks. And then there's some that just maybe even just fully stay away from. So we'll dive into all those this morning and really get you where we're lined up and hopefully bring in some money today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a good one. I see Kenny saying no sound. Can anybody confirm that in the comments? Can you guys hear us?
Uh-oh. Let's see.
Where's Stix? So yeah. Dave's filling in for Stix. Stix had some family fly in last minute as a surprise. So even he was caught off guard. We were both ready to roll, but we did have our weekly chat there. So I'll pass on what his thoughts are as we go through game by game there. I will share who Stix likes and everything like that. And I'm sure he's gonna pop in the comments. I know he's got some family, but he's too good to stay away. So he'll probably pop in the comments every now and then. But Dave, I'm going to allow the Phillies flag in the back, even though my Blue Jays blew an 8-1 lead in the 6th.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah, it was the shoe.
It's
right?
Fine. We'll let it fly. We'll let it fly for our first show. But just saying, that's a little tough on Pickett and I here north of the border. But without further ado, Detroit visiting the Patriots. Bailey Zappi making his first career start against both the best offense and the worst defense in the league in the Detroit Lions. Pretty high total for a Detroit Lions game. Got to say, heading into the season, I did not think this was the Detroit Lions that we were going to see. But what are we doing with this one?
Yeah, I think Zappi is a very interesting play on the Patriots side. Being down there, less than Mac Jones, even though, he's playing and Mac isn't. I mean, it's not by much, but that's kind of surprising. I think we could see some value here. I mean, Detroit's 32nd against the rush, 32nd overall, 24th against the pass, so it doesn't get much better, and that's all in DVOA. So I could see myself playing a little Zappi, but I'm more in love with the run game in New England. I think Stevenson gets a big game today, and I think Harris could as well. You could see double up, but I like Stevenson a little bit better on that side of the ball, and I'm probably fading most New England receivers.
Yeah, I'm right on the same page there. So Bill Belichick is not going to put his rookie quarterback first career start in a bad spot, right? So we're not going to talk about some ridiculous 5 wide receiver personnel from Bill Belichick. It hasn't happened over the course of his career. It's not going to start now, right? So make sure one thing is clear with this Patriots offense is that they're going to run the heck out of the football today. And that's going to come in the factor of both Damien Harris and Ramondre Stevenson, right? So both of them are within $100 of one another on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I do prefer Damien Harris simply because of that touchdown equity. I mention this almost every show that on FanDuel specifically, you need that touchdown equity with it only being half-point PPR, right? So at the top of the pricing grid, these Cooper Kupp-esque stat lines where he's going 12 receptions for 100 yards without a score and he's still ripping 22 to 25 DraftKings points, that's great on DK. On FanDuel, it's not going to fly. You need the touchdowns, right? So Damien Harris, clear-cut favorite for me there on FanDuel. On DK, I'm cool with either one of them, and I know Stix mentioned the possibility of actually running them both together, right? So that is something that we are entertaining the possibility of, and it's certainly playable against the worst defense in the league. On the flip side of the football here, Jared Goff is moving chains. No DeAndre Swift once again for the Detroit Lions, so expect some Jamal Williams chalk on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I'm completely out at 8,300. He's priced above the likes of a guy like Derrick Henry and right up there with Christian McCaffrey. That's going to be a hard no for me there on FanDuel. But on DK, you can go back there in your cash games. Just know that Bill Belichick will make sure that he's stopping the run as much as possible here. And DJ Chark's still out for the Detroit Lions, but Amon-Ra St. Brown making his return. At least it's looking likely. Keep an eye on that just under 2 hours till tip-off. But this one does have some stackability here, but I'm looking mostly at the Patriots running game.
Yeah, and then on the Detroit side, I am liking Jamal Williams in DK only. I'm with you. The big thing there is New England, I mean, letting up about 130 on the ground, really a lot of that's been shadowed by some of the quarterback running. Lamar had a big game, but there have been running backs that have gotten success. I'm looking at the TDs here. Jamal Williams already punching in, 5 times this year. So I think there's value in him in this game. New England, they sit there 31st in rush defense DVOA. I'm with you. I think Bill's going to find a way to try and make Goff beat him. But I still think Williams can get us some decent return at 6,500. And then I think Reynolds is back in play. I'm a little nervous. I probably won't play St. Brown. He's still up to game time decision. And my concern there is, it's just, we saw it, in week 1 with Godwin. You come back too quick sometimes, and they're on bye next week. I think they're going to be a little careful with him. That's why Swift is out again, right? They're on bye next week. So while St. Brown may play, it could be a little limited. I'm a little scared. I don't know. Are you going to play him at all?
I'm not. I love playing Amon-Ra St. Brown. I have him in – I think he's one of, if not my most exposed wide receiver in my best ball leagues. I have him in a ton of season-long drafts. I just like the season outlook overall for Amon-Ra St. Brown. I was really high on him coming into the season. This week, I'm going to be out simply because of the fact that Bill Belichick, even if Amon-Ra St. Brown is healthy, Bill Belichick always takes away the primary option on an offense. And an offense without DeAndre Swift, by default, it's going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown. So if he looks good, he might stretch the field here and there, but it's going to be more of a decoy situation that I think, and they're not gonna overdo it with him with the bye week coming up next week. That's why DeAndre Swift's sitting out again. I'm sure if this was a week 17, week 18 game with a playoff spot on the line, DeAndre Swift will be active in this game. But with the bye coming up next week, they're not gonna go crazy with these guys. So I do think that both teams keep it simple here and run the football at the time. We didn't touch on TJ Hawkinson. Are you going back there? Or he had an absolute great game last week. Are you going back to TJ Hawkinson? I'm
not sure I'm going back. I mean, so there are a few tight ends I like better. I'll find TJ Hawkinson in a little bit of my lineups, but, we're not going to see 40-plus points again. There's no way Bill would like that. The linebacking core is okay in coverage for New England. So, and I just think if, in this situation, if Amon-Ra St. Brown does play a little bit, it does take some targets away from Hawkinson. So I'm not as high. I think I can play him in some, but not a ton as we did last week.
Absolutely. Rolling on to Pittsburgh, visiting the Buffalo Bills, 14.5-point favorites here for Josh Allen and co. Kenny Pickett, rookie quarterback, making his first start for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Anything you like in this one?
Yeah, I mean, on the
Did Dave freeze or did I freeze? Yeah, he froze, right, guys? Is it me that froze or he froze? Yeah, okay, Dave's gone. All right, so I'll ride this one out while Dave joins us back. But yeah, so look, yeah, Brian, I would click on your comment, but Dave's actually running the account right now. But yeah, Brian saying that he was tripping. Yeah, I was tripping too. So I thought it was me at first, but we're good to go. So I'll run solo here for a bit. But at the end of the day, guys, look, Josh Allen is the elite quarterback that you want on this slate, right? We talk about it. It was mainly a couple years back that it really started coming to fruition that it's going to be the rushing quarterback, the year of the rushing quarterback, and it's all about that, right? So it remains the same in 2022 here. There's no one that does it like Josh Allen, right? So with that being said, the 14.5-point favorite here, it does worry me a little bit, and I am going to be going to another rushing quarterback that I'll dive into in a little bit. But at the same time, you really can't go wrong with Josh Allen here. One guy that I do have a lot of exposure to, especially in GPP, is going to be Devin Singletary. Right, so the Steelers' D-line is banged up, 14.5-point favorites at home. I'm keying in on Josh Allen in cash. I think the floor is simply too much to pass up, and there's a lot of value on this slate that I'll touch on in a little bit. Josh Allen is going to be my cash quarterback, but there is going to be another one that I'm turning to in GPP. And the way that I'm going to get exposure to this Bills offense in tournaments is going to be through the likes of Devin Singletary. And one thing to keep in mind is that if McKenzie is out, Shakir is certainly in play at 3,200 on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I'm out. Again, we talked about it. You don't need to punt like that on FanDuel. You need the touchdown upside. On DraftKings at 3,200, he is someone that is going to be heavily on my radar. And at the top of the pricing grid, Stephon Diggs is not getting the love that he deserves right now. All right. So on a slate like this, where a Buffalo offense is completely banged up, Gabe Davis is still banged up, completely underpriced. I have a little bit of Gabe Davis in tournaments, nothing crazy. Stephon Diggs is going to get absolutely peppered with targets, right? So making sure that I have exposure to Stephon Diggs. Shakir is going to be that guy in the slot if McKenzie is out. So make sure to keep an eye on that with just under an hour and a half here until lock. Make sure that if McKenzie is out, Shakir will be one of those guys that we'll be talking about in our Discord chat. And on the Pittsburgh side of the ball, guys, I'm going to be completely honest. I am out on this offense. I get it. Kenny Pickett's looking good with George Pickens, and he's looking to stretch the field, etc. But I got to say, man, I'm out on this offense. I do not want to test this Bills defense. This Bills defense comes to play at home, 14.5-point favorites. It's going to be a hard pass for me. I hope Pickett does well in his first start. I think he could stretch the field a little bit with George Pickens. But in a game where they're going to be chasing points virtually from the get-go here, and Josh Allen scoring on nearly every single drive, Pickett's going to be in tough, and he's going to have to make some big throws. He's going to be in a bad spot for his first career start, and the schedule does not get any easier with the likes of the Dolphins coming up. And I remember reading out those 5 teams that he's about to play. It's brutal. So this offense, overall, I think he leans on Najee Harris for a ton of drop-offs. He's going to go to Pickens, like I was saying, but overall, this Pittsburgh offense is going to be a hard no for me, and that's why I'm not playing Josh Allen much in tournaments, and I'm going to another quarterback. Dave's back.
Yeah, sorry, Ghost. My
no,
computer,
it's all good.
It didn't like me, but I'm on everything you said. Listen, Bill's #1 pass DVOA. I'm not attacking him. I'm not letting Pickett even see any parts of any of my lineups today. If he beats me, he beats me. I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe a little Pickens, like you said, but I think it's a full fade on the Pittsburgh side, so I'm with you.
Let's do it. Keeping it rolling. Miami Dolphins visiting the New York Jets. Teddy Bridgewater making a start understudy here for Miami. Got some value in that game. Tyreek and both Jalen Waddle banged up a little bit. Is there anything you like in this game? I see people either fully invested in this one or they're full fading it. I find myself on the latter. I am full fading this game. But is there anything that you like in this one?
I might not full fade, but I'm probably not going to stack it as a typical Miami game. I think they're going to play definitely different with Bridgewater under center. I like Mostert. I think we've started to see that he's the lead back there with Miami. He's dominated the shares in the past 2 games. He's even going to get the goal line reps. I know Edmonds had a few goal line carries, 3 weeks ago, but I like Mostert in a slow down type of game. The Jets have played better against the run this year, but still the Jets, I think they just haven't, Chubb had a huge game against them, if we remember that. So I like Mostert. Maybe I can get myself a little bit of Waddle, but I think, like you said, this game, Wilson doesn't throw me. Maybe I could get going a little bit on Garrett Wilson, but it's almost a fade for me full game as well.
Yeah, this is a game where the PPR upside is going to be huge for a guy like Jalen Waddle, and both Tyreek Hill, both of them have that ability in their route tree to run the underneath routes and a lot of stuff over the middle. And that's what Teddy Bridgewater likes, right? He's not a guy that's going to stretch the field all that much. His ADOT is never super crazy, and when you turn it into a large sample size. And that's something where I just don't want it in a GPP, right? And then on top of that, if Bridgewater goes off, I'm counting on the likes of Zach Wilson to bring it back, etc. It's going to be a full fade for me on this one, guys, but I can't knock you if you end up going with a mini stack in this one. I'm just completely out on this game altogether. But if you are in on it, I'm not paying up all the way for Tyreek Hill. It's going to be for Jalen Waddle if he's got a clean bill of health. Mike is like, I don't know. I see Goatseki comments there. Everyone knows our love for him at Win Daily, but Teddy Bridgewater is just not really a tight end kind of guy, right? So he'll go to his top options, and they're going to run the football a ton here, right? So this Dolphin system is made to run the football, despite Chase Edmonds' early season struggles, but Raheem Mostert has been getting the job done there, right? So they are going to run the football a ton. So keep an eye on all the injuries here. It's possible that something comes up. If anything, you might get a value play if not both Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle don't play. But all in all, for me, I'm likely staying away from this one.
Yeah, I think you're on to something there. I like I said, I kind of lean a Dolphin stack, just with that Mostert Waddle, but that's about it.
Yeah, that we're gonna keep it to mini stocks in that one, but we're gonna move on to one of the bigger games on the slate. Obviously, everyone knows why Tom Brady has been in the news lately, and we're not going to talk about that. We're not here to talk about the man's personal life. We're here to talk about the fantasy implications of that. So, Atlanta Falcons visiting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa being a 10-point home favorite in this one. What are we doing with this game? Are we full-fledged stacking it? Tom Brady coming in as the most rostered quarterback on the slate. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin both in juicy matchups. What are we doing?
Yes, and yes. I mean, I feel like it's, I think I want to remember Tampa scored it was close to 80 points against Atlanta last year. And I think it's one of those games that shapes up well. We don't know where Fournette is sitting. Only 3 carries last game, did have those 7 catches, which did get us some return on value. Don't know what the deal was with White in the backfield either. So I would stack the Tampa passing game in this one. We're looking on the Atlanta side, and you do see some injuries there. Pitts is out. So I do like London a little bit because I think he'll get a little bit more targets. But it's mainly stack Tampa, stack receivers, Tom to Evans to Godwin. I do like a lot.
I dig it. And are we doing anything with this Atlanta running back situation with Cordell Patterson being out? You're staying away from that one? Staying away from it with a 10-foot pole. It doesn't sound like you're into it at all. Well,
Tampa's been known to have a pretty good run defense, right? And we saw what Kansas City tried to do against them last week. Expose them through there. I don't know what they're doing with Algier. He didn't get as many targets I'd like out of the backfield. So I think it's going to be a complete 50-50 split. And I'm just not ready to invest $5K, in any 50-50 split there.
I like it. This Tampa aerial attack is either going to go absolute bonkers and break the slate or they're going to flop. I'll tell you guys that right now. And it sounds like everyone's going to be invested in this one. I am also invested in this one. But I'm not going completely crazy over it, right? So it is something where in a 3 max, I'll certainly make 1 out of the 3 a Tampa stack. In my single entry, I'm going elsewhere. And in my 150, I'm going to be slightly over the field. Meaning that if I'm expecting Tom Brady to be rostered at anywhere from 15 to 20% of lineups, I'll try and get up to 30. I'm not going to be 2xing on Tom Brady and go to 40 to 50 because he is going to be one of, if not the most rostered quarterback on the slate, right? So by default in tournaments, it makes those wide receivers being likely highly rostered with the exception of one, and that's Chris Godwin. And Stix pointed this out. He is super high on Chris Godwin this week. I hope he's out there listening and he's happy that I'm mentioning him because he knows how much I like Mike Evans. And don't be fooled. I am going to mention Mike Evans a little bit because I do love Mike Evans this week. But Chris Godwin will absolutely torch this Atlanta Falcons defense, and he does it week in, week out. Whether it's in the slot, whether it's on the outside, Chris Godwin is healthy, and that's dangerous. And Tom Brady's going to go to the guys that he relies upon now. No Cameron Brate in this one. He virtually has no tight end, with all due respect to Cade Otton. He virtually has no tight end in this one. Cole Beasley just retired midweek. Julio Jones is out. Russell Gage is in, but he's still banged up. It's going to be Godwin and Mike Evans being absolutely peppered with targets here, guys. So you don't have to overthink it and get cute with a stack. If you're stacking Brady, you double stack it with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and they're both going for 100 and a score, if not 2 each. Right?
Yeah, so that's where I'm at. I'm the same as you. I think. Do you see any love for Gage at all?
I'm out. I'm going. Mike Evans absolutely owns AJ Terrell in his career. I got a lot of respect for AJ Terrell. He's got a good game, and he plays well. Mike Evans will absolutely body this poor man on the outside. He will body him. Mike Evans is a big dude, man. And when Tom Brady throws it up there, Mike Evans is one of the best one-on-one wide receivers for jump balls in the entire NFL. And that's going to be the kind of situation today where, if they're looking to – Atlanta can't stop a nosebleed on the run game. I'm going to touch on Leonard Fournette in a little bit. But Mike Evans on these jump balls, on these deep routes, Chris Godwin over the middle, Tom Brady's going to be able to move a ton of chains in this one. So I do like that. The only place that I'm playing Leonard Fournette, if you want to play him, is in cash. And I'll give you 2 scenarios. So number one, I saw this question before where Brian was asking, I think it was Brian that was asking, if we could play Tom Brady over Hurts or Allen in cash. And I will say this. If you are playing Tom Brady in cash, the main reason is because you do not want any punts in your lineup. You should not have, if McKenzie is out, you should not have Shakir. You should not have George Pickens. You should not have OJ Howard. You should have none of these guys. right? If you're saving $2,000 on quarterback by going from Tom Brady over the likes of Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen, you should have 0 punts in your lineup. And I'm okay with that approach, especially in cash games. That being said, you're missing out on that rushing upside. And if Tom Brady flops, you're chasing a whole lot of points there, but you have the ability to do it because you have no punts, right? So that's the one thing that's there. 2 scenarios for this Tampa offense that I'm going with. If you are going Tom Brady for both cash games or tournaments, you're either stacking him with Mike Evans and Godwin. Don't double stack him in cash. But for tournaments, you're double stacking him. In cash, you could go one. You could go Mike Evans in cash. I'm cool with that with Tom Brady. And if you are playing the likes of Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen in cash as your quarterback, you need to have Leonard Fournette in your cash lineup. So that's the one thing that I'll say is that the question, I'm going to rephrase it a little bit to whoever asked. I think it was Brian. If he was saying Tom Brady over Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen in cash, the answer is this. If you're playing Tom Brady in cash, you pair him with one of the wide receivers, cool. If you're not playing them, you need to have Leonard Fournette because you need a piece of this Buccaneers offense. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I agree. Atlanta 26th against the run. So as long as Fournette is back and moving, and we just realized that last game was we're playing behind. We got to catch up. That's why he didn't get the volume. Then I'm good. And Fournette's healthy. He's great in cash game. I think that's a good call. We did get this question here, Ghost. Pick 3 out of these. And I will say I'm leaning towards the Josh Reynolds, Duvernay, and Garrett Wilson. And I'll say Duvernay is really interesting. We'll get to him soon, especially with Bateman out. So in that game that probably has some, good game stack potential, he's probably my favorite in that whole group you have there.
Yeah, Devin Duvernay is sneaky for tonight. No Rashad Bateman for Lamar Jackson. Mark Andrews is going to get absolutely peppered with targets if you guys are in that showdown later tonight in primetime. But I do like Duvernay. We're going to touch on Jeff Wilson. He is one of the guys that I like in this game. Tyler Lockett's a really boomer bust, man. So it depends. If you see yourself chasing points in your matchup, then you can go with Tyler Lockett. If not, I would go Josh Reynolds there. But would you stack Brady, Evans, Godwins, and Tampa Bay defense? No, absolutely not. And the main reason why is because if you're double stacking Tom Brady, you need this game to go back and forth. You're not hoping it is. You need this game to go back and forth. And that will not be helping your Tampa Bay defense. So I mean, it could be a full-on onslaught if this game finishes 45-3 and you end up playing all 4 of these plays, all the power to you. And if that's the winning lineup and that's what beats me, I'll sleep like a baby tonight. But like the main thing whenever you're stacking a quarterback, especially double stacking a quarterback, you want back and forth in that game, right? So is it a possibility? Yeah. Is it probable? Probably not. No. So I would just pick the Brady, Evans, and Godwin there.
And I agree with that. I mean, the double stacks that have worked this year are the Hill and Waddle. When we saw that high-scoring game in Baltimore, it was the Seattle game last week with Hawkinson and Reynolds. So if you're going to double stack, you need a point total over 50 or 60. You don't want a defense. So I agree.
That's it. Geno Smith taking on Andy Dalton in a wicked game of the week. Geno Smith taking on Andy Dalton. I had to run that back second time just because I couldn't believe it. And Saints coming in at home, 5-point favorites on this one. What are we doing with this game? I see people stacking this game all over the place. I see people dodging it. Which side are you on?
It might be more of the dodge. Listen, I like Kamara a lot. It looks like he's leaning towards playing. It's a pain tolerance thing with the ribs, but he's pretty much said he's going to try and get out there. And then on that side, I guess I would maybe get some Olave shares back in there too. So between those two, that's as far as I'm going on the Saints side. Andy Dalton doesn't attack downfield, right? And they play a very slow pace with him that I just don't know if even versus a bad defense like Seattle, I mean, the 31st ranked defense, DVOA in the league, I don't think we see 30 points. And if I'm going to fully stack a team, I want to see at least 30. So those are the two I'm targeting, but it's a mini stack for me. And on the other side, I do think there's some value in maybe getting some Penny in here. We saw some, Cook got a ton of carries against New Orleans last week. Didn't find a ton of room, but they were consistent and got just about 100 yards on the ground. So I could see Seattle trying to play that type of pace, but I don't like much else in this game. You?
That's about it. I will mention Tyler Lockett. I know Stix is pretty high on him this week. That's the only other guy that I would add on to everyone that you mentioned. It's nothing. Callaway at 3.3K in cash. No, thank you. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
No.
that's going to be a hard no. If you need to punt that low, it's going to be Shakir. If McKenzie is out, if not, you shouldn't be punting that low in cash. We need safe floors, not high ceilings. You don't need to finish first in cash. You need to finish one spot above the pay line. That's it. So that's going to be out there.
And Yvonne, you're with
and Penny.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
you're
really
with us.
it.
Yeah.
That's really it. The only guy that I wanted to add there is Tyler Lockett. He has that big playability. If you're running Chris Olave, then you could end up running Lockett on the way back, hoping for some big stretch plays there. But keep in mind the quarterback play in this one is going to be intriguing, to say the least. I'll leave it at that. But moving on to this next one, as if it gets any better, Houston Texans taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville coming in on this one, 7-point favorites. Really low total in this one of the lowest of the week at 43. Are we doing anything with this one? Is there certain guys that really stick out to you, or are you avoiding it altogether?
No, I'm actually kind of on a team stack with Jacksonville. I think, if Jacksonville plays the type of D they did, previously when they had their one home game, they pitched a shutout against Indianapolis. I could see a good game stack on their side. I like Lawrence in this one. He had a rough one against Philly last week, but remember, that's in a monsoon. He had 4 fumbles. Other than that, he's been pretty solid this year, but I love James Robinson. Anytime you can stack or run a running back that's going to get consistent carries against Houston, I do it. We've seen the teams in the past few weeks just absolutely shred Houston on the ground. That's why they're ranked 32nd in the run game defensively. So it's James Robinson. And then if I'm going to throw a receiver in there too, it's back to Kirk. I think, I think they're going to make it a point to get him back and rolling. So those are the 3 I like on Jacksonville's side. I don't love Pierce on the Houston side, and we've loved them all year, but my big reasoning is I have a little fear this could get out of hand. And if that does, last week the only reason he made value in a game that was getting a little out of hand, he had that 75-yard run. Without that, he's probably not worth his salary. So I'm a little nervous that I'm not sure he gets the home run today. So I'm more all Jacksonville, no Houston.
Yeah, if I am stacking this one on the Jacksonville side, it has to include Christian Kirk. His target share is absolutely through the roof, right? So it's time to realize that the whole notion of him getting the bag in the offseason and making it a questionable decision or not, one thing you have to admit to the Jacksonville Jaguars offense right now is that they're absolutely peppering this guy with targets, right? So that's what we want at 6.6K on DraftKings, just way too underpriced. And I'm actually in on him on FanDuel also, right? So I think he's in for a really big game. I do like James Robinson and the run game in this one. Last game, I know the snap share went down. I know the touches count went down as well. But you got to keep in mind, like Dave mentioned, it was an absolute monsoon out there, right? So I'm kind of writing that one off the books. Sunshine coming in with 4 or 5 turnovers in that one, whatever it was. It was absolutely brutal. Same thing for the Eagles. It was just an overall ugly game there, right? So I am in on this Jacksonville offense. If you're stacking Sunshine, for me, it's going to be with Kirk. If you're double stacking it with James Robinson, it can get there. James Robinson's going to be that guy that if he goes bonkers, Sunshine's only throwing for 2, and I want him throwing for 3, right? So I'm either going Sunshine and Kirk, or I'm going James Robinson solo. And the guy that I'm running it back with in these mini stacks is going to be Brandon Cooks, going completely overlooked in this game. That Jacksonville front 7 is legit. They have some extreme playmakers on that front 7 that they've accumulated through the draft. And Dameon Pierce is going to be in tough today. At least that's the way that I see it right now. Brandon Cooks going completely overlooked on this slate, kind of in no man's land there, in the same price range as the Chris Olaves and the Tyler Lockett's, etc. At only 6,100 on DK, I need a big play wide receiver in this one in order for my Jacksonville stocks to be able to keep pace. Brandon Cooks is going to be that guy. So he's the guy that I'm mainly targeting in these Jacksonville stacks. But anything else that you want to add to this one? Or you're on mute. You're on mute.
Yeah, thanks. Trying to switch back over to the good camera so you can see my full flag. But
there you go.
Yeah, we're aligned with the Dameon Pierce, a dangerous game, stay away. And that's a great point. If we're going to see, a point where Houston has to throw the ball, Cooks is just a great target. We could see an 8 to 10 target game out of him. And at that price, I love that call. And
one guy I did forget to mention, I can't believe I almost forgot that. Sticks would have like blowing up my phone
No,
if I moved on to the
Nico?
next game before. No, it's gonna be OJ Howard. No, I'm not mentioning Nico. I'm mentioning OJ Howard. I'm not trying to be nauseous on stream here by mentioning both Nico Collins and OJ Howard in the same sentence. But OJ Howard at close to min price. Look, guys, you guys have seen it in Discord throughout the week. Is it the sexiest of plays? Absolutely not. Is he the only tight end that's active on the roster? Yes. Brevin Jordan is out for this one, and he is the lone man that's going to be out there running routes at that position. So as min priced as it gets on DraftKings, OJ Howard does open up the world. That being said, now that Isaiah McKenzie has been ruled out, Shakir kind of ends up taking that spot. So look to our Discord for updates there, but just throwing out OJ Howard out there at the tight end position. Honestly, with no Travis Kelce, anything goes at the tight end position, especially with Mark Andrews also not on the slate. So did want to throw out OJ Howard out there.
I like it. And Tim, to answer you, there's several weeks where you can play 3 RBs. I do think this is one of them. It's been pretty heavy receiver in the flex spot for me, but this is a week with, good value in that 5 to almost 7K range, 6,900, where I could see myself getting 3 running backs and saving some good salary for a quarterback and receiver. So yes, I do think you could play 3 this week. How about you, Ghost?
Yeah, you can. I would just, again, in cash, I'm a little wary of playing both Damien Harris and Ramondre Stevenson together. I do lean Damien Harris there, especially with the early with the early down touches. I do lean Damien Harris a little bit. Jeff Wilson is in my cash lineup, and we're going to talk about that game when we get to the 4:00 games. But and Robinson was close to making my cash lineup, but I went to Christian Kirk instead, and I don't want double Jacksonville in my cash lineup. But yeah, if you're not playing Kirk, you could certainly play 3 of those running backs, being Damien Harris, Jeff Wilson Jr., and James Robinson. I'm absolutely cool with that.
Yep.
Next game. It's a pick'em. Tennessee Titans taking on the Washington Commanders. Washington at home. Total's really low at this one at 43. But look, I'm completely out on this game. The one and only guy that I'm playing is Derrick Henry with Tennessee defense. I think it's a Derrick Henry coming out party.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I'm in on Henry, but both teams are ranked very, very bad in the pass game. The problem is, Washington's been getting a lot of their yards when they're down. So in an even game, I think it could be an ugly game, low scoring. I could see Dotson a little bit. I think he's starting to really, favor Dotson because he just doesn't have time back there, he being Wentz. Samuel's been getting a decent amount of touches, so I could see those two, but Henry's probably 1, Tennessee D 2, and then, maybe in GPP, I'll take a flyer on Washington receiver. Tennessee's 26 against the pass.
I like it. Chicago taking on Minnesota. Minnesota, the line's moving heavily in the favor of the Vikings in this one. Now 7.5-point favorites at home against a Justin Fields-led offense that these are the lowest passing props that we've ever seen in sports betting history. So what are we doing with this game?
Well, first and foremost, Gavin Cook's one of my favorite plays of the day. If you're going to spend up at running back, I think it finally, he gets the volume, he gets the touches. He hasn't produced as much as probably a lot of fantasy owners want, but he still had 3 double-digit games out of his 4 weeks, and I could see this one being his biggest pop of the year. Chicago, not great defensively, 24th against the rush DVOA. So I love Cook in this one. I'm not thrilled with Jefferson because, we got our Jefferson game last week. I don't know if I want to pay up for that. I see this more of attack from the ground. And then on the Chicago side, I'm out. I mean, Montgomery thinks he's going to play. Schefter said he's going to play. And that just adds a lot of confusion in the air for me. So does Herbert and Montgomery split? Because I really don't feel like he gets the full workload. And then Fields, you can't even play Mooney or anybody because of Fields. So it's not much for me, but it's Cook. And maybe I'll get a share or 2 of Jefferson, but not much.
Yeah, this at the top of the pricing grid, I do lean Cooper Kupp over Justin Jefferson. Just a better game environment there. I'm a little reluctant to see if Chicago can actually keep pace in this one, and that's the main thing. That's we didn't talk about Curtis Samuel. It's just the price is getting up there, Brian, and it's at the point where
the Dotson.
I didn't mention Curtis Samuel just because the price is getting up there, and there's way too many guys that I like in that range. And it's not that he's a bad play. He was just on the outside looking in terms of the comparisons to Olave and Lockett and talked about Brandon Cooks and Christian Kirk, etc. So, and I'm not willing to pay a premium for Scary Terry on a Carson Wentz led offense just yet. But yeah, coming back to Justin Fields, look, I don't think that they're going to be able to keep pacing this one. And I do have, I think, maybe one or two Minnesota stacks, nothing crazy because they're all virtually unrostered on the slate. And this could be a classic Kirk Cousins beatdown game where, you know, it's that Kirk Cousins cycle where he looks mediocre. People talk about his contract, sucks in prime time. They ask for him to get cut, and then he has a blowout game. And we're right at this point right here. It's that blowout game in a 1 p.m. against an inferior opponent. So I do have a couple Minnesota stacks with JJ. That being said, I don't think Chicago keeps pacing this one. So if you are stacking this one, I'm not going to talk you off it. It's going to be Kirk and JJ and stop right there. Or you're going other mini stack, which would be Dalvin Cook and Minnesota defense. That's about it.
Yep.
On the Chicago side, I'm completely out on this offense until I see them actually being able to accumulate some yardage because right now it's absolutely abysmal. So I'm going to be out there.
Yeah, I would like Montgomery in a healthy situation. Minnesota's not great defensively, and we saw, like, you know, the Saints dusted off Ingram and who's the guy that was running upright last week that they just took off the practice squad.
For Chicago?
No, the Saints last week.
We saw a lot Murray and
Latavius.
Yeah, we saw a lot Murray.
Yeah. So, I mean, those guys went for over 100 yards combined against this soft Minnesota front. So if we did have a fully healthy Montgomery, I could, you know, really understand that because he's a threat in the passing game. He would have been in play, but he's out just because of that for me. Yeah,
absolutely. Just to see some questions real quick, Brian, Kittle birthday narrative. We're going to touch on that game. It's coming up in 2 games here. So I'll get to that in a little bit. Pickett, Hill and Waddle are both in. And Disley as a GPP tight end, very touchdown dependent. So I get it. He's putting up a decent amount of points. But when you look at that, it's a lot of 3 for 30 stat lines with a touchdown. So just something to keep in mind there that he's very touchdown dependent. But if you are playing him, cool. Brady Fournette or Brady Godwin? I would go Brady Godwin. Godwin is not really highly rostered right now. So it's likely going to be Mike Evans. But if you are playing Brady in cash, I do want one of those pass catchers. If you don't have to stack in cash at all. We actually recommend not stacking in cash. But with Tom Brady, it's going to be okay. You could just go one wide receiver. Don't go both. Go one. But I would go a wide receiver over Fournette. Fournette becomes the play if you're going Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts in cash. That's the 2 scenarios that you have there. Our next game, Justin Herbert and the LA Chargers taking on the Cleveland Browns. LA only favored by 1 in this one on the road. What are you doing with this game? It's really going overlooked. There's not many guys that are coming in highly rostered in this one.
Yeah, I think this is my second favorite running back on the board. I mean, again, we're talking about a guy that is up there in the top 5 or 6, but Nick Chubb should be, you know, a guy you fully consider this week. LA Chargers just not great against the run. And I think, you know, we're going to have a good situation here. One of those games where Cleveland just, you know, pounds the ball on the ground. They've been good at home running the ball. I could even see myself getting Hunt involved too, getting tricky and playing both, like we talked about with Stevenson earlier in New England with Harris. But I like Chubb a lot. And then on the Charger side, I don't like Eckler this week. I think they still haven't convinced me they can run the ball successfully. That was Houston last week. Remember, we've talked about Houston earlier being the worst rushing team. So I'm a little nervous, and he's got to get touchdowns to make his value productive when you're not getting the yards on the ground. And the catches are coming, you know, at a less rate than we like. So I kind of like Mike Williams again. I think he's going to be in play for a big day. So Mike Williams, Nick Chubb are my favorite 2 on this board. Game.
So the one thing that I wanted to mention on the Cleveland side of the ball, it's the running back tandem. Again, you guys are gonna. It's pretty much a theme. Whenever I am in on this Cleveland offense, it's gonna be usually both Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt's super active and on both the ground and in the passing game there too. But the one thing that I did want to mention with Nick Chubb, Stix wanted to mention it as well. You're kind of hoping, not kind of, you are hoping for that 2 touchdown game, right? For him to be able to break the slate. But if there is a running back that can do it on a slate like this, it's going to be Nick Chubb, right? So it's one thing to keep in mind there. On the Chargers side, I saw a comment for Chubb and Eckler stacks. I'm going to be out on Eckler this week. The only reason being that Myles Garrett is back. And Myles Garrett is a problem on that defensive line. So I think Justin Herbert's going to get the ball out quick. I think it's going to be a lot of Josh Palmer over the middle, a guy that's going completely overlooked, honestly, like this with the amount of value that's there at the wide receiver position. Mike Williams, he's going to be in tough against Denzel Ward. I respect the heck out of Denzel Ward's game, but at the same time, that's a big boy, and he'll be able to win those jump balls. So I do think Mike Williams, he's going to be in for a big one. I think it's going to be one of those. Mike Williams is a roller coaster in fantasy, and I do think it's going to be one of those high points for him. But this game going completely overlooked. So if you are stacking it, it might pay off. If not, even these mini stacks, guys, this game going completely overlooked here. So we could be the ones that could be all over it. And sounds like both of us are in on this one, and I know Stix is too.
Yeah, and like, let me say, the Eckler, I'm not saying don't play him. I'm just saying I think there's better spots to play him. Cleveland's not fantastic against the run. I just don't think the Chargers have shown an ability to be successful in the run game. So I don't expect last week. I don't expect his low game, but I expect him to just be mediocre. So if you like that, cash probably is the safest play for Eckler.
I dig it. San Fran visiting Carolina, the lowest total on the board at 39.5. San Fran coming in at 6-point favorites. Are you touching this Baker Mayfield-led offense, or
no?
Are you avoiding this game altogether?
Not avoiding the game, but avoiding Carolina altogether. Even last week in the game that they just, were in a perfect scenario, perfect matchup against Arizona, he does nothing. I mean, McCaffrey gets 9 catches. That's the only reason you got value out of him getting 25 points on DK. I can't expect that to happen again against San Francisco. So I'm out on the Carolina side. I am in on Jeff Wilson, and I'm still in on Debo. And one of the things last week, Debo didn't get the carries out of the backfield because I think they play the Rams so much that the Rams are just prepared for that, end around sweep, or when he lines up in the backfield. He only got 2 carries, and one was on the first drive. So I think they realized that that's not a game that they were going to use Debo in the backfield. I think you get more Debo in the backfield this game, and with the potential for 6 to 7 catches. I like both Debo and Jeff Wilson this week.
Yeah. Debo is one of my favorite GPP wide receivers in this one. I do like Debo a ton in tournaments. That rushing attack is going to be led by Jeff Wilson. Debo will still be involved there as well. And for whatever throws that Jimmy Garoppolo makes, it's not going to be many in a game like this. I can't see him throwing the ball all that much. They're going to run the football, and they're going to play some stellar defense. Thoughts on San Fran D? Yeah, that's my favorite defense of the week. If you can afford that luxury, it's my favorite defense of the week. But Jeff Wilson is in my cash game lineup right now. They're going to run this football a ton, and Carolina's front seven, been saying that since week 1. It is brutal. It is on. People are starting to catch on. We were on it since week 1 coming out of this offseason. That Carolina front seven is absolutely terrible. It's not going to change now. And the one thing that I did want to touch on, I saw George Kittle birthday narrative. Look, they use him a lot in blocking, right? So they're not going to need to throw the football a ton in this one. Can they sneak him in for a touchdown? Yeah, I'm just not playing any top tight ends at the top of the pricing grid right now. So for me, I'm going to be out. But
don't you think Kittle is more of a blocking back now with Garoppolo in here? And I don't know if we're going to see Kittle from 2-3 years ago for a while. I'm just out until he proves it to me. I think
it's mainly what it is, right? Especially with Trent Williams out, their O-line takes a massive hit, right? And George Kittle is the best blocking tight end in the league, right? So they need him to be able to block, and they use him a lot. It's just it's kind of tough. Debo, huge pivot off Wilson. I didn't want to give it away, but that's exactly where I'm going right now. In lineups that I'm not playing Jeff Wilson, it's not the exact 1-for-1 match there, but I'm not playing the two of them together. But wherever I don't have Wilson, if I can get to Debo, that'd be great, because that's the whole point, right? Debo is that massive leverage off of Jeff Wilson, especially when they get inside the 10. They'll give Jeff Wilson maybe one crack at it if he even gets a touch, and then after that, it's straight to Debo. Whether it's on an end around, whether it's on a quick slant, anything like it's right to Debo. So that's where I'm going for tournaments a lot. I like that strategy a whole ton. But next game in this one, second to last one, we're going to save your Philadelphia Eagles for last. Obviously, I tried to plan that out to the best of my abilities, but Dallas Cowboys taking on the LA Rams. LA coming on this one at 5-point favorites at home. This LA offense is really struggling. It's really struggling, guys, and we lost Dave again, so I'll go solo on this one. But I've talked some painful thoughts about the Cowboys game here. But the one thing that I will say on this one, LA, we know where the football's going. It's Cooper Kupp. It's Tyler Higbee. And I have seen this so many times. Brian, I know you're going to mention it in the chat, so this one is specifically for you. Playing Tyler Higbee and Dallas Cowboys D in cash is going to be a no for me this week. And I get it. Almost everybody is doing it. The large part of the field is going to be doing it. I'm not, and I know Stix is not. So it's something where the whole notion of cash games is that you need to either be keeping up with the field, and then you need 1, 2, maybe 3 guys to really separate yourself, right? Because again, you don't need to finish first. You just need to finish right above that pay line. Everybody gets paid the same amount. That's the whole point of cash games. So with these highly rostered guys, Tyler Higbee is the one that I'm going to be out on. This is a huge Cooper Kupp game, a massive Cooper Kupp game, and going overlooked on a slate like this where roughly 20 to 25% of the field right now is projected to be playing the Dallas Cowboys defense. I get it, and I said it myself. The LA Rams offense looked absolutely terrible so far, but it's still the LA Rams, and they can explode at any time. And I don't want to be on the wrong side of that, right? So their offensive line takes a massive hit. Micah Parsons is going to be in for a huge game on this one as long as he keeps lining up on the edge, and he's going to be in for a big game if he does end up doing that on the defensive side of the football for the Cowboys. But outside of that, I'm not playing them in tournaments. I'm only playing them in cash because they are going to be that highly rostered cash defense. And because of that, I'm not playing Tyler Higbee. That's one thing. We're going to get that out of the way. Higbee in tournaments is going to be okay. But at that point, if you're not stacking him with Matt Stafford, there's no real point to eating that chalk, right? So it's a bit of conflict with this game for me this week. You're either all in on a Matt Stafford-led offense that has looked absolutely terrible, and that's going to be in tournaments, or you're playing Tyler Higbee versus his own defense in cash games, which for me is going to be a no. So that's the one thing on this one. The Cowboys offense, look, it's going to be tough in this one. Tony Pollard is going to see a lot of touches, Zeke out of the backfield, but that LA Rams front seven is those are some big dudes on the D-line led by none other than Aaron Donald, and that the run game is going to struggle a ton. It's going to be a lot of Cooper Rush dishing it out in the flat to the likes of Tony Pollard and both Zeke. But I'm out on CD against Jalen Ramsey. All in all, this game, I thought I would be on it. It has the ability to be a primetime game and a lot of scoring in this one. But the more I look at it, the more I look at the matchups, it's going to be a hard pass for me. Dave's back.
Yeah, sorry. You know what I've learned? The sun overheats my computer. So I'm in the shade now.
There you go. There you go.
Put the Phillies flag away, but I heard everything, and you're right. I think it's a good – Dallas has a defense that, definitely has kind of overperformed in a sense. Diggs is definitely playing better. He's still taking his gambles, but, he's not getting exposed as much as he has in the past. But that doesn't matter with Cooper Kupp, right? He's everywhere on the field. He's in the slot. He's out of the backfield. I still think you can play Kupp in this one. And I think on the Dallas side, I don't want CD against Ramsey. Ramsey steps up in these games. Coming off a beatdown on Monday night, I think the Rams are going to be ready for this one. So it's not much in this game for me, but definitely Kupp. Yeah,
and the main thing that I want to point out here is that every single team in this division is 2-2 right now.
Yeah.
Right? So as bad as the Rams have looked, and the 49ers have already been through the ringer with Trey Lance being knocked out for the season, everybody's all over Kyler Murray over and over again for whether it's Call of Duty, whether it's he can't throw the football, whether it's no DeAndre Hopkins, this and that. And then people are absolutely loving Geno Smith, this and that. Guys, at the end of the day, we're heading into week 5. Every single team in this division is 2-2. So that for me is huge. If you aren't going Higbee in cash for tight end, we will get to that. That's how we close out the show. So we always give our top plays for both cash and tournaments, and we're about to do that right after the Eagles game. So stay tuned for that one, Tim. You got to stick with us for another 10 minutes, give or take here. We're going to blow through this Eagles game real quick, and then we're going to get to our top plays for both cash and tournaments there to end the show. So stay with us for another 10 to 15. Brian saying Kyler is Baker, but slightly faster. Damn. That's cold, bro.
That's cold. You know, what I like, though, is, you know, those two won a Heisman, right? There was a quarterback in the middle of them that's playing for the Eagles that didn't win the Heisman, who's better than, I think, both.
That's a great way to start talking about this game. I like that. We're starting right away with the hot takes. Philadelphia taking on Arizona. One of the highest totals in the week, 48.5. Eagles on the road, still favored by 5.5 here. I gotta let you kick this one off. I know you're an Eagles guy. You got the t-shirt on, everything like that. Brian's gonna go absolutely nuts. If I wish I could just like mute Brian in the comments right now because he's about to go off about the Eagles, but go for it.
Yeah, well, I will. Hey, you know, obviously love the Birds, but I'm a realist. And I think when flying out west with Dallas on the horizon next week on Sunday Night Football, this is a tough little spot, I think, for the Eagles. Now, from a DFS perspective, maybe not. So I think it's actually a great DFS game for both sides because I think this game's going to probably stay within that number more than we think. You have the highest scoring first half team in the league in the Eagles, and you have the highest scoring second half team in the Cardinals. So there's going to be some fireworks with one of the higher totals on the board. I like this script to be more in the passing game. I love Dallas Goedert today. He's my favorite tight end on the board. I like A.J. Brown, and I like Hurts a lot. I think Hurts is going to get back to on the ground with his legs. I think he's going to get at least 50 yards rushing today. This Arizona defense is bad, you know, on the line and bad in the D-backs. So I think there's a value on the Eagles side with Hurts, Brown, and Goddard. On the other side, I do think, you know, they'll get after Murray. But the Eagles tend to, you know, they rush forward. When they do blitz, it's a little scripted. I think Murray's going to be able to have a decent game. He's going to be able to get out and use his legs, and that's where he's most dangerous. So I do tend to think Rondale Moore might be a decent play, too, with the aggressive Eagles defense. They're missing some players, Maddox on the back end, so that's usually where he lines up in the slot. So don't love the Arizona running game, though. I know the Eagles haven't been great against the run, but I don't play James Conner much anyway, so.
I like it. Hurts is going to be my main lineup. I was actually texting Sticks and Sia this morning there. We're talking about potential stacks and everything like that, different contests. And Hurts stack is going to be my main one. And the main thing when stacking Jalen Hurts is that you always worry about the fact that it's a good problem to have, but you always worry about him running in the touchdowns, right? And then things like that. So that being said, I don't think it's one of those weeks. I'm counting on him finding A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert. Both are in cakewalk matchups here. And A.J. Brown is one of the guys that I'm most exposed to. Dallas Goedert is my favorite tight end. Tim, that's for you. When you're talking about Higbee pivots, Dallas Goedert is my favorite tight end of the week. So I'll reaffirm that when we close the show. But I am all in on Dallas Goedert. I like A.J. Brown. I'm actually double stacking them in my main lineup. Yes. And I will mention I'm not playing Booby in cash, but I like him a lot for tournaments. A lot. And I'm usually not like it takes a lot for me to be in on Miles Sanders. And this is one of those weeks. I'm in this week. So
you're in on Miles.
I am in on Miles this week. Because I like to play Miles when he has the ability to have explosive runs. And this is one of those games where this Arizona defense bleeds on the ground, especially through the air. They're bad. On the ground, they're even worse. And this is one of those games where he can break off a massive run. So I'm in tournaments. In cash, I'm not. But I am in on Miles Sanders this week. On the flip side, I do like Zach Ertz. You're a former tight end, of course, Philadelphia Eagles former tight end. I do like Zach Ertz. Those are in lineups that I'm not playing Dallas Goedert. I'm running it back with Zach Ertz. I never go double tight end. You guys know that. I already timed that exactly as the comment came up because Brian was gonna go double tight end right away. And no, I never played double tight end. So I timed that perfectly because I knew you were gonna hop in there. We've been together too many years to not know that. But in lineups that I'm not playing Dallas Goedert, I am running it back with Zach Ertz. If not, I do like Hollywood Brown in this one. Having that big playability, I need someone to keep this game close, and it is going to be Hollywood Brown. I'm not counting on James Conner pounding the rock and taking time off the clock. I want the opposite to be happening. I want these short drives for Arizona, big playability, and that's going to be Hollywood Brown. Just 2 weeks out before DeAndre Hopkins comes back, so he's got to keep this train rolling, and he's been looking really good. So Hollywood Brown is going to be my run back in this one.
I will just say on Ertz, and he's been great this year based upon his volume. They really do rely on him. Eagles haven't done much or haven't allowed much against tight ends this year. Hawkinson had an okay week 1, but since then Logan Thomas shut down. Vikings, Irv Smith got a 1-yard touchdown, no big deal. And then last week, nothing out of Ingram or anyone. So it'll be interesting. This will give me a good story of where the Eagles are, because typically they're not great against tight ends. So I'll know a little more coming out of this. But I'm lukewarm on Ertz. I kind of like him more in cash. I think he could be boom or bust today.
Absolutely. I dig it. So that's every game. We actually burned through that 1 hour on the dot. So we're going to close out the show with our favorite plays for both cash and tournaments.
Pick it. This is where we thought it would be. Shep was saying it earlier, and I still don't feel comfortable with that, coming off and only getting a few reps in practice playing him. Even though I like Montgomery as a player and I like this matchup, I'm probably off Montgomery this week. Yeah,
I'm out on that Chicago offense as a whole, but Montgomery coming back just makes that even worse for the likes of Khalil Herbert and every playmaker that offense has. It's a disaster.
Yeah.
So we'll close it out. So you can give your top plays. We're gonna go every position, top plays for both cash and tournaments, starting with quarterback. And you can start us off. Favorite cash play and favorite tournament play.
I think my favorite tournament play is Hurts. I think you have potential for, 35 plus game out of the QB position with Hurts in Arizona today. And my favorite cash, I just think it's going to be a steady, good game out of Brady. So there are many weeks when I like to dive down, and we saw what the Geno Smith kind of games did last week. But I think right in this mid to top range this week, we have the right matchup. So I'll go Hurts and Brady.
I like it. My cash quarterback is going to be Josh Allen, and you can go Tom Brady if you like, but I'm going Josh Allen. And for tournaments, I'm going Allen. Hurts. Hurts is going to be in my main lineup. Allen, I'm mostly out on in tournaments, but you can go there if you want. So it's going to be Hurts, Tom Brady, and Sunshine. Trevor Lawrence is going to be my punt quarterback.
I think that's a great tournament play. He's my lower end tier 3. Yes, I like him a lot. Good call.
At the running back position, where are you going for cash? Where are you going for tournaments?
Yeah, I mean, in tournament, I think, I'm sitting up top. I like Chubb and I like Cook, but I'm also really going to get involved with some Mostert, because I feel a game against the Jets is about to break out. And I'll even say Stevenson as well. Those are kind of my tournament plays. As much as, I want to be steady in cash, I do still think James Robinson and Jamal Williams have really good value. And, there's not much behind Jamal Williams. We saw last week, we thought Reynolds would get it. It's him or nothing. And New England showing up really weak in the run game this year.
I like it. For cash, if you are not playing Tom Brady, you need to play Leonard Fournette, right? So it's one or the other. That's one thing that'll get out of the way. I'm playing Jeff Wilson and Damien Harris. Jamal Williams, also a cash play there for me. And in tournaments, top of the grid, I'm going Derrick Henry. Middle of the grid, I'm going Miles Booby Sanders. I do like him a ton. James Robinson and Devin Singletary. Big Devin Singletary week. I feel that coming. Ramondre Stevenson and Damien Harris, both applicable to both cash and tournaments. I think you can play both together. I'm not doing it. I do lean Damien Harris or Ramondre this week. Wide receiver. Where are you going for cash? Where are you going for tournaments?
Yeah, I mean, I still do like Cup, but I just think it's too much this week at 9,600. So I'm starting down at Debo as my favorite, especially in tournaments. So I'll go tournament plays. I like Debo, AJ. And then, I mean, for me, I still do like Jalen Waddle. I think he's going to get his share of targets today. Like you said, Bridgewater, a guy that's going to throw a lot shorter routes. Waddle lines up in a lot of different spots. If I want to go a little bit of value here, it is the Godwin London range too in the 5,900 I like for tournaments. As far as cash goes, I think similar guys, right? But I also think Diggs here. I think Diggs is going to be a nice, steady, big playmaker today. They know that they took this Pittsburgh team a little lightly last year. Buffalo knows they've been winning by, the slimmest of margins like last week and losing by the slimmest of margins the week before. I think this is one where they go big. And remember last time they went big? Tennessee on Monday night, Diggs had a huge game. So
that was a big game. That was a big game.
Big game. So I think we could see similar today against a bad Pittsburgh defensive secondary.
I like that. I have such a long list of wide receivers, so I'm going to start firing off names because it's kind of tough for me to pick 2 or 3, let alone all of them. But look, in cash, we talked about Olave, Christian Kirk, Mike Evans, or Chris Godwin. One of the two. Don't play both. One of the two. I think that's mainly where I'm going in cash. If you're going down to Shakir, it's to get off OJ Howard. Do not play both together. Do not play OJ Howard and Shakir together. It's going to be one or the other. But I just don't feel the need to go down there. The only reason you would is if you're playing Jalen Hurts in cash. So, but I have other value. It really depends where you're going. But yeah, that's probably going to be my wide receiver pool. For tournaments, I'm going at the top of the grid. It's going to be Diggs, AJ Brown, Debo, Hollywood Brown. So both Browns this week. I like that double Brown stack in that Eagles game. And
throw St. Brown in there then too. Go 3 Browns.
I would if he was healthy. If he was healthy, I love playing Sun God. Yep. I love playing him. But he's just I think it's gonna be more of a decoy week for him. But this is where I have planted my flag, and this is where me and Stix would usually make a little beer wager of some sort. And I hope he's listening. If not, I'm gonna text him and make a little beer wager. He doesn't have a choice at this point. I'm taking Mike Evans over Chris Godwin in tournaments. It's going to be a big Mike Evans week. But if you have to pick one, if you're playing Brady, double stack away, and both these guys are going to go nuts.
Yeah, I love it. I love the call. I don't think you can go wrong double stacking. But if I leaned one way, it's the touchdowns, right? And I think Mike Evans, a little bit more.
I gotta go with my boy Mike. But tight end position, cash play, GBP play, right before we head out.
Yeah, I mean, GPP, Goddard's my favorite on the board. So, simply I'll just play him. If I'm going to dig down a little further, I do like Njoku a little bit. If they do end up getting down against the Chargers, he's shown he's going to be a big target. So it all depends how that game script goes, but you wouldn't be wrong going 3,800 for a guy that's averaged over 10 DK points. And as for cash, I think Higbee's probably the safest. I'm just a little nervous about Hawkinson today, coming off that big game and what Belichick will want to do. So I'm going to stick more in the Higbee, Goddard, Njoku range.
I like it. If you are playing Cowboys D, you are not playing Tyler Higbee in cash, please. If you are playing Tyler Higbee in cash, do not play Dallas D. Gonna get that out there for the 4th time on this show. Because I'm playing Cowboys D, I'm not playing Tyler Higbee in cash, but he is going to be the chalk of all chalk. Just make sure that with all this value, you're finding a way to get to another defense that is not the Cowboys if you're playing Tyler Higbee. I'm going Dallas Goedert in cash. I'm also running him in tournaments. Zach Ertz as well. And I do have some OJ Howard as well to get exposure to that Houston offense on the run back from my Sunshine stacks. So that's about it for our entire show. Dave, any last closing thoughts before?
No, I'll answer this quick one from Dean. If I go non-PPR out of those 3, I'll probably go Reynolds, just with the uncertainty of, St. Brown. But last closing thoughts. Sorry about my computer failures, but we got right back on track.
That's it. We get right through. We keep on pushing. That's the theme of the Sundays. We just keep on rolling here. So thank you to everyone for tuning in, whether you're listening in, watching, or both. Thank you guys. As always, we do this for you, and we really appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Dave, thank you for joining. I really do appreciate it. That way I didn't have to ride this out solo. I really do appreciate it. And it was a great first show together. Looking forward to doing more.
Thanks, bud. You too. And sorry about those Blue Jays. But, hey, you can always cheer for the Phillies.
That's it. Yeah. We just got to bring the Expos back. That was my solution. We just got to bring the Expos back, man. That for me is going to be the solution. But we'll see. We'll see what next season has to offer. For now, good luck on your Week 5 lineups. Damien Harris, FanDuel GBP. I'm all in. I absolutely love Damien Harris.
Yep.
I don't want to say all in. Let me not go crazy here before
But if you're saying Najee,
before poor Todd puts Damien Harris in every single one of his lineups. But I do like him a ton. If it's Najee Harris, should not be more out. I'm completely out on the Pittsburgh side. But on the Damien Harris side of things, I touched on that. Very long story short, because I do want to go get healthy before we end up going for Thanksgiving dinner here. And Damien Harris is going to be absolutely big on FanDuel. You're going to need that touchdown upside. And just before we head out, I touched on it just now. I did want to mention this before. To Pickett and all my other fellow Canadians, happy Thanksgiving. Wish you guys all the best. It is Canadian Thanksgiving for those that do not know. So yes, we're a month early. We do things weird. North of the border, it's just so cold up here. So we got to move it up a month earlier than you guys. But happy Thanksgiving to all my fellow Canadians and wish you guys all the best.
Awesome. Thanks, Ghost. And that wraps it up for this week here. Week 5, the DFS breakdown show right before, you got a good hour left to go get in those lineups, lock them in, keep an eye on a few late reports. But with this information, you should be ready to get some money today. Good luck and enjoy some football.